Chelsea unexpectedly win their away Champions League draw against Atletico. Liverpool get back on track with a win over soon-to-be relegated Sheffield United. Man City continue to march towards the title, and Spurs might have got the old Bale back with a commanding win over Burnley. Oh yeah, United and Chelsea was an absolute snooze fest. Jamie Becker joins us from North Carolina, down here in the Rat Tail Bunker and Barbershop Studio, and this is the Boys in Bolos podcast. Welcome back to the Boys in Bolos podcast. We're down here in the Rat Tail Bunker and Barbershop Studio. Jarrett, we're going to be approaching week 26, or we're in week 26. I never know the week. It's like week 25, week 26.
We're just finished week 26. We're on our way to week 27.
You know what it is? It's because Spurs are still have a game in hand, and I think that's what it is. It's throwing me off. I'm always seeing how many games Spurs have played.
Are you a Spurs fan?
Yeah, just
like casually?
Just casually.
Like you're trying it out. You're dating.
Just
you're still dating
seeing
other
how
teams.
it goes. I could easily switch to another team.
How easily?
I was thinking like maybe I could switch to Leicester, but them botching it in the Europa League was really wasn't good. Wasn't a good look.
It's not the best look.
All right, well, Jarrett, who do we have today for a guest?
We have none other than Jamie Becker.
Yes.
Do you like that dramatic pause?
I do. It was very dramatic.
They're like, oh, who do they have? What kind of Jamie they have?
I'll have to put a note in my head to not cut the pause out.
Yeah, don't cut the pause out.
Okay.
Jamie Becker is joining us all the way from North Carolina, even though he does go to a college here in Beverly. He goes to Endicott, and he'll be graduating. We were just talking about it pre-recording. He'll be graduating in May, which is exciting, and then he starts his whole life, which will be great. And the best thing about Jamie is he's a Chelsea fan. So, Jamie, welcome to the pod.
Thanks for having me, guys. I'm super excited to start chatting.
I'm glad he was able to come on the pod because I think back when we had invited him on, we're getting excited about the vaccine, and maybe there was a possibility that he'd be able to come down into the barbershop and be with us. But he's all the way down. So actually, you want to tell us why you're – because you go to Endicott, which is up in Massachusetts, but you're doing an internship for your last semester down at Duke?
Yes, sir. So basically, Endicott, the curriculum works so that your last semester in the spring, you spend at an internship. That's worked into our curriculum, and I was just lucky enough to have worked with the athletic department, as I already do play soccer at Endicott, so I was super close with everyone there, and they reached out. I've always been fascinated with digital media, social media, and that kind of stuff, so reached out to Duke. Within 2 weeks. They said, hey, you want to come down here for the whole semester? I was like, yeah, sure. So I think it took about a week for me to get my apartment and get down here, but I'm excited, and it's definitely different. I'll say it's much different than Beverly. It's 78 degrees, so
a little bit jealous.
That's super nice. I went to school in Memphis, Tennessee. Definitely by March 1st, which is today, It was super nice weather. The kind of weather where you could play outside with t-shirt and shorts, absolutely no problem. I guess you could probably do that up here too if you're from the area and you're into playing in cold weather or whatever. But it's so much more comfortable in the mid-Atlantic at this time of year. But yeah, we're really grateful you're here. And I've kind of loaded the deck again, Jeff, another Chelsea fan. But since you're kind of a low-key Chelsea fan, I guess it's fine, right?
Yeah, I'll root for Chelsea. If there was there are 4 Premier League teams in the Champions League, I'm probably going to root for Chelsea, number 1.
Why don't we start right there? Chelsea's big win over Atletico.
You called it. Did you call it?
I said they were going to win, but I've been getting a little bit kind of aggressive with my calls.
Yeah.
And John Scheimer's head will explode because he'll text me and be like, that's ridiculous. You think Sheffield are going to beat Liverpool? Whatever. I actually was very worried about that game. I think I optimistically said Chelsea was going to win, but in the back of my head, I put up a video that day and I was like, I don't care what religion you are. Go to your mosque, go to temple, go to church, and just pray for Chelsea. Because I honestly thought Atletico were going to do a samba on him.
Do you think it was a case? No, this is a question for both of you. I thought they were going to get absolutely smoked by Atletico. Do you think it was a case of Atletico not showing up, or a case of just Tuchel being like, we're just going to play the low block, just try to defend, and then see what happens?
Jamie, what do you think?
I'd side more with the low block. I think the last 7 odd games that he's been in charge, he's had this famous quote, I think, and it was, if we don't win, then we don't want to lose, or something like that. So he's very comfortable with ties. And going into that, I didn't really expect a blowout loss because I knew he love to play defensively. For me, it was more so like, are we going to tie and we're going to do another 0-0 like we've done for the last 2 United fixtures and basically tied almost every top 4 team in the Premier League? Or are we going to grab a last-minute winner? And the latter occurred.
The latter did occur, and I think it was a really good synopsis. I think I couldn't agree more with Jamie. I think he went in because it was a, quote, away game, even though it was at a neutral site, and he just said, we don't want to lose. Anything but other than losing is a win. And so because he was so comfortable with the tie, if you look at the game, it was a tie. Other than Giroud's unbelievable improvisation where he does a bike off that, and they had to review it because they weren't sure because it looked like it went off a Chelsea player, but it actually went off an Atletico player, so it didn't matter. He was offside. If you take that out, you take 5 seconds out of the game, and you could say this to a lot of soccer games and 1-0, but you take that out of the game, and it's a very even game.
Yeah, I don't think Atletico even had more than one shot on goal.
I think they had a shot on goal, but it was like a daisy cutter from like 30. It wasn't. I was surprised when I saw that game for 2 reasons. One, I was surprised how well Chelsea was able to defend, but I think that was balanced by my surprise at how Atletico didn't want to go forward. They got the ball and they were very timid. Suarez was doing, and if you had a dive meter and you had like a dive map of where Suarez was diving, he was doing that all in the middle third because he wasn't in the box. And normally Suarez gets near the box and then the snipers come out, And so even though there's an empty stadium, I was surprised that Chelsea looked that organized, and I was also surprised that Atletico, who I was super fearing because they're destroying La Liga, I just assumed that they were going to run it. I assumed we were going to be in the 3, the wing backs tucked back, and the 3 midfielders in front, 8 guys behind the ball, maybe even 9, and just kind of praying. But that did not happen, and I think Chelsea are actually going to go through, knock on wood, but that's exciting.
My opinion is La Liga is not that strong. I think that's where the big takeaway from that
Speak on it.
Well, I mean, there's like 4 teams that are like can compete in Europe and are competing for that title. Atletico, Sevilla, Barcelona kind of this year, and Real Madrid, right? 4 teams. And we just saw the top team, and they weren't like very impressive. So I just think that a lot of leagues just don't, they're just not that competitive when it gets down, like, 6 and below. It's just like, whatever, we're going out and we're playing whatever soccer, and then they're playing, and then the Champions League games come, and then they have to play real games. So it's just a different dynamic in the Premier League where, like, I think every week it's, fighting tooth and nail to get 3 points. So they're just much more prepared for that midweek. So
one of the things from the game that I was very impressed about, and now we can talk about the United game, which we kind of talked about pre-recording here. Chelsea's defense looks good again. So what is Tuchel doing? Because you're a forward, right?
Yeah, number 9.
Yeah, number 9, totally number 9. So what is Tuchel doing from your estimation as the viewpoint of a forward to somehow make Rudiger and Christensen, 2 dudes who everyone thought were just done, like nails in coffins, to now with Azpilicueta, a guy who is a liability at best, but apparently now in FIFA's 11. What is Tuchel doing to get those guys on track? Because they look good. Like, they actually look, is it communication? Does he have them like bunking together? Do they all like have a triple like bed set? Like, I honestly don't know. So Jamie, you're up. Answer this $1 million question, because he's doing something.
Yeah, I mean, I would say I think he's taking a real veteran perspective. He's leaning towards a lot of the older guys that he knows what he can expect from. As far as it goes with the wingbacks, he's allowing them to advance. Instead of having Timo stay wider, because he almost knows, like, with Lampard, it was kind of confusing because everyone kind of expected it to be Tammy and Timo to kind of like fight for that number 9, or we didn't know if it was going to be a false 9. And then the minute that we saw Giroud just come to life in the last, 2 months, it was like, all right, well, now he's in the mix. So I think he's utilizing the wingbacks a lot more. I don't necessarily agree with the fact that, don't get me wrong, I love Aspie, I love Rudy, but
do you though?
It
you
hurts
love
not
them.
seeing Zuma.
You love them.
It hurts not seeing Zuma.
It hurts not seeing. I miss Zuma a lot. I miss him a lot.
I think you miss Zuma because you miss him on set pieces a lot.
Yeah, I mean, he scored 4. He was our leading goal scorer, I'm pretty sure, for some of the season because he was destroying corners.
Yeah, there's nothing in the box on set pieces right now. I mean, you got.
Yeah, I mean, I fell in love with the Zuma Thiago Silva pairing because it's the whole French speaking ideal, and then you have Conte in that CDM role right in front of the two, and to me that triangle was something that I felt super comfortable with, and then to have Chilwell and Reece on the wing backs, it was almost like too good to be true, and then people started falling apart, and Tuchel came in, and I think I obviously respect. I mean, I can't respect for the guy. He hasn't lost a single match yet. He's putting us in a really comfortable spot to compete for the top four, but it's weird not seeing those faces that I was seeing when we were succeeding for the first few months.
Do you think Thiago Silva, Zuma, and they go to a flat back or they go to a 4-back once Thiago Silva's up and ready? Or do you think he's going to now continue to go with the 3 center backs, the 2 kind of more advanced wing backs? Because I personally completely agree. When you have Zuma, Thiago Silva, you have Conte sitting in front of him, you have Reece James on one side, Chilwell on the other. That's phenomenal. Those 5, I just trust. Then in front of them, I like Kovacic.
Yep.
And then you can kind of do whatever you want offensively, because if you have those 6 and they're all working together, it's just freakish.
Exactly. And I mean, you could even get Mount in the mix there. I've slowly fallen in love with Mount. I mean, how can you not? With the Wolves goal last year, that kind of sparked like everyone's love for him with the hit it right on the valve kind of joke free kick thing. So that, and then kind of just everyone loves like a hometown hero kind of guy. So I would say Mount and Kovacic I would love right there. And then, I mean, forward, I have no idea. I couldn't tell you anymore.
I don't think anybody knows.
I literally don't think anyone knows. And it's interesting to see, especially as U.S. soccer fans, to see Christian Pulisic almost just kind of dissolve. Like, I know he's had his injury problems, and I know this and that, and there's more context as to why he's not getting the PT that maybe we think he should get.
Yeah.
But he's still, in our opinion, and I think it's a biased opinion, I'm speaking on behalf of the U.S. men's soccer team, I still think in the Premier League, he's still probably in top 5 players I'd want on the ball going one-on-one. We only have like one guy right now who's really doing that, Hudson-Odoi, because Ziyech just gets the ball, and every time it's on his left foot, he's trying to ping a ball or he's trying to shoot. So I'm interested to see what happens.
I mean, there's talk of them still needing a number 9 or somebody up top, and I think Haaland's been discussed in the offseason to go pick him up, and Abramovich is kind of given the green light to go after him, I think, especially in like a down COVID market. I think he'll be able to pick him up for £100 million or something close to that. 110. I've seen numbers kicking around, but they thought Werner, Ziyech, Pulisic, I think was going to be the 3, and it just hasn't worked out that way. I think Ziyech has been hurt a lot. I think Ziyech has had a hard adjustment to the Premier League. I don't know if he got COVID or not, but he's a small guy, so it's tougher for those guys. Pulisic has been hurt, and Werner just hasn't been firing. I mean, he's been getting minutes too. It's not like they're not sending him out there and giving him like 70, 80 minutes. He's been giving him every opportunity to score, and he had that one game where he scored, and everybody was like, "Oh, he's back on," and then he ghosts for like now 2 games. So, I mean, it's tough. I mean, that team, for what I've been saying since day one with Chelsea, is that their defenses look totally solid this year. Yeah. Like they've been able to put guys in and out of the center back and out of wing back, and they really haven't gotten scored on that much, except for maybe that Arsenal game, which was a fluke game, right?
Yeah.
Which pains me just even because I hate Arsenal as well, but. They just can't score. Like, it's scoring is the problem this year, right? I mean, like, you're getting contributions to just random people. Like, I think, like, Zuma has, like, 3 or 4 goals.
He's 4 goals.
He has, like, more goals than freaking Werner, right? It's crazy. It's not good.
I mean, to think that we brought in guys like Havertz.
Oh, Havertz. Yeah, him too.
That's a player that some people don't even mention, and he was arguably one of the best players in the Bundesliga, or the most promising for the last 2 years, and I mean, I completely blanked on him for center attacking mid, so that already shows you where my mind is at.
I think that just shows you where most people's mind's at, because I was thinking too, moving forward, who do you put in front? I like CDM with Conte, Kovacic, and Mount, and then you could put whoever 3 up top. It really doesn't matter because you have 7 guys behind the ball that are just technicians. It wouldn't even occur to me Havertz, even though we previewed on the show. We talked with a guy who's German, and he was just saying, hey, like, you guys got super value. I know you paid 86 or whatever for him, but his potential is really up there. And he was still, even at the end of 2020, when they did the FIFA 11 or the FIFA, best young player, he was in the top 20. It's assuming that since August, he essentially didn't play soccer. So like one third of the entire year, the guy wasn't playing and he was still in the top 20. So Havertz is a guy I think Chelsea's going to hold on to after seeing what happened with Mo Salah, with Kevin De Bruyne, with other guys who they let go and didn't give enough time, Lukaku, all guys who are firing on their own teams right now and have won leagues or Champions Leagues or European titles. So I think you're going to hold on to Havertz for some time, just as they've done with Hudson-Odoi, because I was not on the Hudson-Odoi fan club.
Actually, that's a great transition.
What's transition?
Because in the United game, he was part of a very controversial call.
He played some basketball.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah. So as a Spurs fan, it pains me to see that as a non-call because earlier in the year on a Newcastle game, Dyer got called for a similar play where he was like, his hand just happened to be up there, hit the back of his hand. He wasn't even facing the ball, and it was a penalty in the box, and they scored, and blah, blah, blah. But then they decided to like lax the rule or whatever, or like the interpretation of the rule changed, and now Caleb Hudson-Odoi does the same thing in the box. His hand's not as high, of course, but it kind of like rolls off his hand. And
was it in a more natural position?
I guess his hand was a little more natural.
Is this how you play?
This is how I play.
Like a T-Rex.
The fact that he almost cradled it with his hand, probably the funniest thing I've seen in a long time.
Yeah.
It looks like some Harlem Globetrotter stuff where you have the basketball and then you throw it out in the back of your hand and you bring it back. When I first saw it, I actually thought it was, and I think many people saw or thought that it was a Luke Shaw handball.
I thought it was a United handball.
Yeah, and which would be, indirect kick out of the box, like whatever. When you first saw it, did you think the same, Jamie?
I thought it hit off his shoulder, but I didn't necessarily think it, like, I don't know. I'm impartial, I guess. I mean, when I saw the replay, it was so clear and evident that he literally cradled it. But before that, I was kind of just like holding my breath, knowing like, okay, who did that hit? And because I've been through that so many times, and it's that little like few minutes of panic where you're like, all right, here we go to VAR. And then once I saw the VAR, I almost just closed my eyes and was like, all right, well, it's 1-0 now.
Such a close game as it was, that would have been all you would have needed to take 3 points, and Bruno Fernandes probably scores. This is the interesting thing with the Dyer, when it happened to Dyer earlier in the season, who was that against?
Newcastle.
When that happened, were the Newcastle players protesting and looking for a handball at all?
No, I
don't think at all.
Not really.
And the reason why I asked
because it was like a non-call, and then they went back and looked at it.
Right, and then they went back like 8 minutes later, and then
it was like a minute later. Yeah.
So the reason why I ask is because in this Callum Hudson-Odoi, Luke Shaw incident with the handball, or whatever, I don't think any United players asked for a handball, and I wonder if they had been more kind of up in the ref's face, asking for it. Bruno Fernandes would have had one of his meltdowns that he had that entire game because he was so frustrated nothing was working. If he had channeled some of that kind of energy into the ref, I just wonder before he goes to look at it, would he have changed his perspective a little? There is so much to be said about putting pressure on a ref slowly throughout a game over dumb things to eventually force their hand, because at the end of the day, it's a subjective thing. And once the ref goes to the monitor to decide, he is the god. He is the deity. He can decide. The booth has said, hey, there may be enough evidence to turn this over. Why don't you give it a last look? He could have easily said handball. And if he says handball, I don't think Chelsea fans are arguing, because I had the same feeling Jamie did, which was like, shit, that looks real bad. Like his hand is touching the ball. And once again, I'd have to go back and look at the tape, but I don't remember United fans crowding the ref and asking for it. And I just think had that have happened, maybe the outcome would have been different, and maybe United would have been awarded a penalty.
I thought it wasn't a handball because it's subjective in a way, because he wasn't like trying to play the ball, and if without VAR, I think it wouldn't have been a call. But now that there's like this like rule about handball and like you can't touch it in the box and all that stuff, the law does state if you touch it, and it should be just like how it was called. And so now it's like a subjective thing, and now nobody knows what we still don't know what a handball is. It's just making it more gray. It's just making it more hard to understand with VAR. It's just really confusing. I think that's really what I think we're, as fans, as people who play the game, we want just consistency, right? We want it either to be one thing or the other. I don't want it to be this whole like convoluted like system, and it seems like the Premier League is just getting it wrong with a lot of these calls, with a lot of these VAR calls.
And with that, let's go talk about your boy Lee Mason.
Oh
Because
yeah.
in the Brighton Hove Albion game, I swear to God, he stole a goal. And I felt bad for Brighton Hove because I thought that they played the game to a T. So if you haven't seen it, guy goes up, puts the ball down. Here's a whistle. The goalie's still lining up the wall, so he's hugging a post. And he, who's it, Dunk?
Dunk.
Dunk just puts it on the other side of the goal. Ball goes in. This has happened to everyone in their playing career when you don't have someone front the ball and just stand there annoyingly until the ref says get out of the way. And in the time the ball is in flight, or right before in the time the ball is in flight, he blows the second whistle, they say, before the ball crosses the line, therefore negating the goal. Lee Mason then is surrounded by Brighton players, calls it a goal. This goes to the whole pressuring the ref. Calls a goal, and then VAR goes and looks at it, and they call it back. I thought this was horribly done. And then, this was on Saturday, and then on Sunday, Lee Mason was, quote, injured for his game. So
I love it.
I love the controversy. I feel like it's like a QAnon thing, right? There's a conspiracy in there, but like he really botched that, and I think he should probably be docked pay and like sat down for a couple weeks because that was so brutal. Once he blows the whistle, my understanding of the laws of the game is then the game is live.
Yeah.
And the guy can play the ball. And he doesn't. And Jimmy, if you saw that game, we really wanted Brighton to win.
Yeah.
And we were so angry because Brighton misses a penalty, hits the post twice. Sorry, hits two penalties off a bar and the crossbar, and they get that goal taken away, and they lose the game. And I think Brighton has been the team that has lost the most points after dominating games this year.
Oh my gosh.
I don't think is that a wild statement?
No, not at all.
Because they should have beat United, and then they had the Penandas thing at the end of that game. Roughed up all season, and part of this is because Jeff and I really would like to see Fulham escape. Do you think that's a possibility? When you look at the table, and then we can get to the other side of the table, who's getting relegated? Because right now, Sheffield's a lock.
I'm going to say Sheffield. That's an easy one. I would almost say Fulham and...
Do you think West Brom's escaping? They're second to last, but they have the ghost of Sam Allardyce who saves people.
I would say, as sad as it is for you guys, in my opinion, I would say Fulham, West Brom, and Sheffield. And that's just obviously me being safe, but also I haven't really seen much from the three other than there's been little like stints of Bobby Reed playing some great football. I mean, geez, did anyone expect Sheffield to be dead last with the amount of points they have after being seventh last year?
Somebody somewhere had a future that Sheffield was going to finish top 10 this year, and it was like 3-1 or something, and they put a lot of money down, and they are in trouble. Because who would have thought that Sheffield Blades, baby, that's like all Jeff sang last year. And they beat Chelsea 3-0. Like this, it was 3-0, right? It was just a smoke out. I mean, they destroyed us.
They had a really strong defense. They had Henderson back there. They were not giving up goals and stealing points away from teams. And
McGoldrick looked like FIFA 11.
Yeah, when he played against us, he did. Oh, my gosh.
Well, let's look at the other side of the table. ESPN put up odds for teams to get in the top 4.
Oh, yeah, dude.
And Jeff's going to read you off the odds. And then
you have to agree or disagree.
Yeah, or say if they're high or low, where you think they are.
Okay.
I think for Chelsea to get top 4, I want to say it was...
chances of making Premier League top 4. And you don't have to speak to Man City because we all know they're going to make top 4.
Yeah. Okay.
Man City, greater than 99%. Man United, 85%. Liverpool, 61%. Leicester, 48%. Chelsea, 46%. West Ham, 26%. Tottenham, 14%. Villa, 8%. Everton, 7%. Arsenal, 5%.
Wow. Okay. You know, honestly, I'm in the place where I know there's a lot of angry Liverpool fans right now. I mean, with what's been going on with their injuries and just the club morale. I mean, I hate to bring it up, but that whole Alisson thing, you can see he was already having a pretty rough season. And then for something like that to happen, which no one would ever wish upon anyone, and then to have him like kind of not deal with it in the best way and then play, it's almost like I can't really see them finishing top 4 in my opinion, but that's just me. I think Leicester and Chelsea have a pretty good chance. And I know, what was it, like 60 something for Liverpool?
Yeah, it's high.
I texted you the image if you want to bring it up.
Actually, I don't think your Liverpool prediction is too far off the mark, and that's kind of how we feel about Liverpool. We actually, when we did our preseason predictions, Jarrett and I both picked Liverpool out of the top 4. This is before the season even started. And we've just seen them like steadily decline and like kind of like erode. And I think the biggest thing with Liverpool is that they've played so many games and their schedule has been so grueling for like the past couple of years. They've played Champions League, and the Premier League, and they were just operating at such a high level. You can't expect any of those players like Henderson, like Van Dijk. Well, I know Van Dijk's injury is freak, but like Henderson pulled up, and that injury was crazy, and he was just running along, and that's fatigue, right? And so these players are gassed. They've been playing a lot. The players that they brought in have gotten injured, and Thiago's a nightmare, and Jota's been hurt. They just haven't had anything go their way this year, and that's just the way it goes sometimes with teams, right? So for them to finish, I think 5th or 6th would be probably pretty generous. I think, they could slide easily to 7th, especially the way that Everton, Villa, and West Ham have been playing, and even Spurs now that they've got Bale and some of their other players firing. So it's going to be tough. These last 12 games are going to be pretty hard, and I don't think that Liverpool fans should think that they're necessarily a lock for top 4.
I'm actually surprised when I look at these stats that Liverpool has better odds than both Leicester and Chelsea to get in by that margin. I'm a little surprised. Now, I know that Chelsea's last 4 games are brutal. Those last 12 points, maybe we get 6, and I'm just being a realist. The optimist in me says we get 9, but the realist in me says we probably get 6, and they're hard fought. I just don't know where they get that, though, because what we see on the field, I don't see Liverpool in top 4, and Leicester's starting to slip. Harvey Barnes' injury, that's rough. James Maddison's starting to get out. That's rough. Soyuncu has never come back and been the center back that he was pre-restart, pre-injury last year. And Jamie Vardy, he's still pub Jamie Vardy. Some days he shows up. Other days you don't even know he's on the field, and he's just like a hungover blob of like human cells. So I don't know where they get that. I'm surprised.
I'm surprised too because Leicester had such a slide after the restart.
Dude, the electric slide.
It was brutal. Like out of the top 4 into 5th. Barely holding on to 5th. Like, I could see them totally sliding out of the top 4 in the last couple games.
So, yeah, looking at this, is there a team, do you think, like, West Ham or Tottenham have a chance to get in top 4?
I was just going to say, I almost have a feeling that West Ham, to think that West Ham were so, like, for lack of a better word, just, like, in the shits, like, in the dumps last season. I felt like it was just so low. And for them to now be almost fighting for top 4. They are fighting for top 4. Is 1, surprising, but 2, it's like kind of questions who are those key role players. And for me, it's Souček, it's Cresswell. The 2 of them, bar none, like you look at fantasy points, obviously they're like incredible. They're goal scorers, they assist, and they're both like one's a centerman and one's a left back. So you think, like the majority of the points will be coming from Antonio. Haller was almost non-existent, and then that's why he is now gone. But I feel like things are clicking, and things that weren't kind of working out before are starting to work for them. So, hey, I wouldn't doubt them finishing top 4, honestly. If Leicester continue to electric slide, like you said, I genuinely think they have a chance.
Boogie, woogie, woogie.
Their performance against Slavia Prague in the Europa League was one of the worst Premier League team performances in Europe.
I didn't watch it, but I'm glad you're our Europa League ambassador.
I didn't watch it either.
It literally was gouge my eyes out.
Was it worse than the United Chelsea game?
Oh, way worse.
Because that was a nursery rhyme.
It was like watching a bunch of guys who have never played soccer together before, like ever. Like they've never played.
It was like watching the MLS All-Star team.
It was like watching the MLS All-Star team, and like they were just like they didn't know what was going on.
God.
That's brutal.
It was really, really brutal. It's like Madison didn't play because I think he had like a hip injury or something. Barnes looked lost without Madison there, and like Vardy was just kind of like running around for a little while after he came on, and then he got Iheanacho out there, and like
Oh my God.
it was Unger saying he's under. It was like a spattering of like just a bunch of guys out there. They didn't know what they were doing.
It looks like a.
But to put this in perspective, Slavia Prague, like the value of that team is literally 60 million. The value of Leicester, 550 million.
Is that what it is?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's legit. Like I put up I took a screenshot of like both
Side to
side, and I was like, this shouldn't be happening.
That's
Shouldn't
bad.
happen. It
That's
shouldn't
bad.
happen.
Not the way world football works. It's all economics.
Yeah. So it was embarrassing. Brendan Rodgers should be embarrassed. I think that carried over to the game when they lost to Arsenal this past weekend. And I could easily see them sliding back.
It's also the thing too, whatever you've done before in soccer, if you've blown a 3-goal lead and you're up at half by 3 goals, it's kind of in the back of your head, hey, like, we've botched this before. Maybe we'll do it again. And as they lose that Arsenal game, which was rough, you can't help but think it's starting to, like, creep in again. That idea, shit, are we going to drop this again? Because last year before the restart, just as they were, I said it a couple weeks ago, I think they've been the most consistent team. Because City was in, like, 14th and finally got up to first. But Leicester, I think, is the only team that has been in top 4 all year long. All other teams have kind of come in and out. Yeah. Leicester and Liverpool, excuse me. But Liverpool now is out. So Leicester's the only one, I believe, who stayed in the entire season. Because there was a time when both Manchester teams were 12. I mean, they were deep. They had games in hand. But I think Leicester's been the most consistent team. So if they start to slip, and they don't need to slip much. And Chelsea plays them in the last couple of weeks, and I'm hoping that they're on the slip and we're on the up, and those lines kind of cross, and hopefully because we're going to need Chelsea will need to win that Leicester game to be top 4, just to make sure that we have that game, because there's so much swing when you play a team for 6 points. It's all to play for. But that's it. Let's look at the week coming up, week 27. Unless there's something else.
No, it's 27.
Yeah, week 27.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Good. Do you know where you are?
Yeah.
Okay. Earth. Burnley Arsenal. Jamie, what do you think for the game? Give us your score prediction.
Oh God. Well, I'm a big Burnley fan. I love the way they play. I love Deitch. He's a mastermind. No, I'm totally kidding. I absolutely
I have his poster on my wall. I read his biography.
I don't know if you saw the quote he said about Bamford or something, but he was like,
I saw it. It's phenomenal.
Yeah, I mean, the guy is just like shit house, just scrap for points. Like, so with that said, and with Arsenal's last result, which looks like the revival of Willian, I'm gonna say
the revival of Willian.
He plays one game. He has one assist.
He has one assist, and jersey sales fly up at the Emirates. Everyone's like, Willian's back. Oh my God.
I would say 2-1 Arsenal.
I agree with that.
I hate that I agree with that.
Tottenham basically made Burnley look like a championship team last weekend.
Burnley was a championship team last weekend.
It was brutal.
They
was brutal.
Yeah, they should be.
Yeah.
Sheffield, Southampton.
I love JWP. I have like 3 of his jerseys in there. I bet I'll score a free kick. Let's say 2-0.
Yeah, Southampton need the bounce back. This is a perfect game for them.
Hasenhuttl needs it. James Ward-Prowse is due for a free kick per his regiment this
year.
They
lost today to Everton, and I thought they should have scored probably 1 or 2.
Aston Villa, Wolves. This will be a good game.
Yeah.
Wolves is kind of
on the upswing.
They're on the up, meaning they won their last game. And Aston Villa for me is the wild card right now in the Premier League. I really don't know what I'm going to get out of them. They beat Liverpool 7-2, and then they'll lose 2-0 to a team that they should beat. So what do you think on this one, Aston Villa Wolves?
I think it's all dependent on how Jack Grealish feels on the day. But, geez, this is going to be a tough one. I wouldn't be surprised if we see a tie, a low-scoring, either 2-1 Wolves. 2-1 Wolves. And I just say that because, I don't know, Neto, or maybe not, because the whole forward situation, I don't know, is Jimenez back or not? Do we know? He's in training.
He's lightly training. I don't think he's
training?
I don't think he's doing any contact stuff.
He's not back, and if it's still the Brazilian, what's his name?
Willian Jose.
I don't know if he was at Sociedad. I don't know where he was before, but he was a marquee player for whichever team he was playing, a goal scorer. And for him to then come here, obviously that's the biggest transition, is to go anywhere to the Prem, or from anywhere to the Prem, sorry. So maybe not. I'll say 1-1. I'm comfortable with a tie for those two.
I think it'll be a tie.
Yeah.
I don't like to predict ties because I think it's boring, but I think it could be a tie.
Yeah, it's going to be a 1-1 kind of game.
Next game is Brighton Hove and Leicester, and I would like to see Brighton win. What do you think about that, Jamie?
With Harvey Barnes out for 5-6 weeks.
They got knee surgery.
Oh my gosh, yeah. So I'd love to see them win. I'd love to see Lamptey succeed. I've always been a big fan. When Chelsea let go of Lamptey, I was close to tears because he was like my favorite. Oh, I loved him. So yeah, I would love to see and it's deserved. Like every game they've played for the last 2 weeks, that Palace one hurt to watch. When Benteke hit that volley, I was like, oh my gosh, it was 20 shots to 3. So if they could pull it off, I'll be super happy for them. Yeah.
Nothing could be better for Chelsea and Tottenham for Leicester to start sliding. So hopefully that happens. The next game is the potential candidate for the mini-bat game of the week, as it will be ugly. West Brom versus Newcastle. Yeah, Newcastle's in 17th, and West Brom is second to last. This is a game that Newcastle really needs to win. Actually, they both really need to win, but I think Newcastle really does, because if they lose this and Fulham wins, Fulham will jump them in the standings.
Yeah, I didn't realize that Newcastle were that deep in the...
Yeah, Newcastle, the historical club that it is, a lot of supporters are going to be very, very upset if they lose this game, because this is one of the games, whoever you're nearest in the table, you got to win. Doesn't matter whether you're in the top or the bottom. So who do you got in the Newcastle West Brom?
I would say, I think it's Newcastle. I'd say like a 1-0. They'll scrape by, maybe grab a late goal or something.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, Newcastle doesn't have Callum Wilson right now. They still have Almiron, which I think if they get relegated, he's a player to go to another club that will be a good squad player at another club in the Premier League. So I like watching him play. The guy has tons of energy, runs around, creates chances and stuff. I think even without Callum Wilson, Newcastle just has just a little bit more, what do you want to call it? Pedigree, skill, not a championship team.
I think the last one was their best skill.
Yeah. The Newcastle bench, their goalie. I think Maximin's actually hurt. He got hurt. That's tough for them. They benched Darlow and put in Dubravka.
I don't know why they did that.
I don't know why they did that, because he let in a real soft goal. I play the hot hand, so that's kind of the X factor for me. I think Darlow can stand in his head sometimes, so hopefully I like to see him play.
Next game, Liverpool Fulham. When they played earlier in the season, they tied.
Yeah.
I love Fulham. We're hoping that Fulham. I'd like to see Fulham do an escape. What do you think on this game?
Is it home or away?
I believe that this is at Craven Cottage. It is not. It is at Anfield. Excuse me.
All right.
Anfield is no longer a fortress, though.
But if it was at the Cottage, it was guaranteed win now. I would say, it's when I think that like Salah, Firmino, and Mane are going at like Anthony Robinson and players like that, it's hard to think that Liverpool can lose. But then again, they just can't score. So I wouldn't be surprised if it's like a scoreless draw. And I know that's boring to say, but there was a draw earlier in the year, and that's just like for me makes the most sense.
I think a draw or Liverpool win. I don't think Fulham can win this game. But okay. I don't know. We'll see.
I mean, I think Liverpool desperately want Jota back. Just a little spark for the end of their season.
They definitely need Jota back. If they actually, I'll say here, if they don't get Jota back, they're not top 4. That's easy. Yeah, that's not like saying anything.
Because they're not scoring goals with the top 3. Like you'd think Salah, Firmino, and Mane would be, firing and they'd be scoring 2-3 goals a game. So it really wouldn't matter if their defense is, in the shitter, which it is. Firmino has just looked just like a ghost of himself this whole season. I don't know what his deal is, but got new veneers or something.
He got new veneers.
I think he got new veneers. I think that's what it was.
Next game is the Manchester Derby. Should City win, I think they should be crowned and they shouldn't play the rest of the season to avoid injury before the European Cup and Copa America. Just my personal opinion. I will get hated for that. That is fine. Does United have a chance of winning this game? It is at the Etihad.
No.
What do you think the chances are?
Percentage-wise?
Under 20%?
For me, yeah. I mean, Pep.
I agree, because that's saying they got 20% chance of winning. I think there's a 20% chance they'll tie, and then that means there's 60% chance they're going to lose. And at the Etihad, that sounds about right.
Solskjaer's game plan is 0-0 draw, pack it in, slabhead Maguire, smash it into the stadium.
Yeah.
That's what their game plan is. It's not, let's go out and try to win this game. It's, let's not lose this game. Just how they didn't want to lose the Chelsea games.
Yep.
I didn't realize how bad they were in top 6 games this year.
They're really bad.
Real rough.
Almost as bad as Chelsea.
Yeah, they're almost as bad as Chelsea. They're better than Chelsea, but that doesn't say anything. They've tied every game except for the loss against Spurs, the 6-1, and then there was another one I can't. And the Arsenal, when Arsenal beat them. Not good. I expect City to beat them by 3 goals.
Hey, but if you're a top level team, you got to beat the bad teams too.
You got to beat them.
Got to beat them. You got to beat them.
Our teams aren't that great at doing that. Next game, Tottenham Crystal Palace.
Is it a London stadium?
It's at Tottenham. Tottenham is home.
Okay. I think after watching what Bale, was the Bale? I'll ask this: do you guys think the Bale thing was a fluke, or is he finding form again? Are we starting to see the old Bale again?
I don't think you need to see the 100% Real Madrid win the Champions League Bale. I think you just need 80%, 70% Bale for him and contribute.
Yeah, that's true. That is big.
I don't I think it's somewhere in between, right? So I think he's going to beat up on a Burnley, right? But then he might be a ghost against like a top 4 team, to the point that he maybe, in Jose's eye, a slight liability because he doesn't play defense. But I definitely think he's finding fitness and a little bit of form. It does help the confidence to score goals against Austrian farmers in the Europa League, and then to score against Burnley twice. But I always said if he scores 10 goals or 12 goals in all competitions, and he wins you a few games in Premier League, he's totally worth it. And we're trending in that direction. It's taken him a lot longer. You gotta remember, this guy didn't play football for basically 2 years. No, he basically didn't play for literally sat on the bench.
Jeff, he
and
got
jogged
his
around.
Cardio on the back 9.
Yeah.
Exactly. I was just gonna say it's all golf.
So my thing on Bale is exactly what you said. Before the 2002 World Cup, Zidane was a question, right? France had just won. Zidane, I think he won the Ballon d'Or when he won the World Cup. If he didn't, he won it in between then. So he's a Ballon d'Or winner, and he's 98 World Cup champion, which he won kind of single-handedly against Brazil.
Yeah.
And it was like, does he play or does he not play? And I just remember an analyst being like, 80% Zidane is better than almost everyone in the World Cup. So if France can get 80% Zidane, they're going to play. If France gets 80% Zidane, they don't even get out of the group stage. They lose to Senegal. It happens. History moves on. That's my feeling with Bale. If Bale can even be 80% of 2014 to 2013 to 2015 Bale, that's a serious problem for the Premier League and especially in the Europa League. So I think he's also getting time and space when he plays Burnley and the guys are backing off and they're on their heels. He's just like, are you shitting me? I'm so good. And that second goal was just a thing of beauty. The second he opened his hips, I said goal. And it was just like, it looked like Thierry Henry only from the other side because he's a lefty. I'm excited to see if he's firing. Honestly, if he's firing and Leicester slips, I would love somehow, and I don't know how it happens mathematically, for Tottenham and Chelsea to slide into top 4. Because he's so good. When he's on in the last couple games, he's been the best player for Tottenham.
I want to pump the brakes a little bit on Bale's back. Bale's back.
I don't know if
baby.
he's back, but he looked good.
I think Reguilon, Aurier being on the outside, as well as Sanchez playing out of his freaking gourd at center back for the first time in his entire life. He's actually played like a center back.
That was his best game ever against Burnley.
Yeah, and if Bale doesn't have to play defense. If Bale can play in an advanced role where he kind of floats around in the midfield, he can drift from right to left and wherever, I think that's what the team needs. They need a creative player like that, because you saw he put that left-footed pass to Kane on a dime for that Kane goal. And you need a player that's what they were missing. They were missing just a little bit of quality in the midfield to distribute the ball. They weren't transitioning well. And so it actually helps them that Bale is a little bit slower, because he can get the ball and distribute, because he's a fantastic, besides being a great goal scorer, he's just has quality passes and he knows what he's doing out in the field. And I think you were missing that with not having Dele there, because Dele's just not, I don't know what happened to Dele. I don't know, Dele had a girlfriend, or something happened with Dele, but I heard that he broke up with his girlfriend and now he's playing well. So
Dele is a romantic, Jeff.
He is, yeah. I'm not oh man, Tottenham now are a top 4 team. You better watch out for Tottenham. I still think they're a 5th or 6th place team fighting for a Europa League spot. But against the Crystal Palace team that's no Zaha, Benteke sometimes shows up, sometimes he doesn't.
He's on and off.
Gary Cahill at center back.
Champions League winner with Chelsea in 2012.
2012 Champions League winner.
FA Cup winner.
True.
Bertrand at left wing in that same.
I don't see a scenario where they go with the same game plan. Spurs go with the same game plan they have against Burnley, and they don't score three goals.
Yeah,
I think they beat Crystal Palace.
Yeah,
are we good there?
Especially because they tied them earlier in the season. Payback, baby.
Next game, West Ham versus Leeds.
I think that'll be if Leeds are involved, a lot of goals are being scored, whether it's for or against. Lingardinho's, if he's playing as well.
Exactly, Lingardinho. I'm glad that you used his His
Proper
given
name.
name. Yeah. When he went to Rio, they were like, Lingard, thank you for coming home.
No, honestly, I think it'll be like a 3-2.
3-2 West Ham.
Yeah.
I kind of agree with that.
I agree with that. Leeds have been on the slippity slide.
Leeds have been on the slippity slide, but they're always like on a slide. It's just tough to tell where it's going. Final game, Chelsea-Everton. This is going to be a game because they beat us earlier in the year, and that was so painful.
So painful.
We obviously really need a win, but so do they. This is not a game where a tie doesn't hurt too much, but the potential loss of those extra 2 points, either for Everton's hopes of probably finishing top 6 or Chelsea's hopes of finishing top 4, it's a big deal. And I think we lost them at Goodison, so I'm fairly certain that this will be at the Bridge. It is. What do you think of the score, Jamie?
I think this is a must-win for Chelsea, in my opinion. I think this game will dictate a lot of our season. It'll give us momentum if we are capable of winning to just push forward. And it's tough, but if we can get a win, I would say it'll be a close 2-1. I'm comfortable with a 2-1 because I think depending on what lineup we get, I mean, if Alonso's anywhere in the team, then it's going to be 1 against us. But I'd say 2-1.
Let's remind everyone, because they'll probably be listening to this on a Wednesday or Thursday, that Chelsea play a midweek game on Thursday against Liverpool.
In what competition?
In the English Premier League.
I've never heard of that league.
You haven't?
No, is that a new league?
Oh, it's a new league. We just
is that under the USL?
We just stumbled upon.
USL too.
It's a weird week 29 type of they screwed around with the schedule type of thing.
I hate the Premier League, honestly.
Yeah, it's brutal.
We try to schedule people oh, come on the pod, and then we have to change the week. We're like, oh, it's actually 17 days.
Well, by the time this pod gets published, those games will be over. So it's not even it's pointless to even talk about. I bring it up because you guys have to play a midweek game against Liverpool. Everton also has to play a midweek game against West Brom. A more favorable result for them because they can probably, sub out a few players. Yeah. And so it's going to be tough. I think Everton's sitting in 7th right now with a game in hand. They win that game in hand and they win another game. They're up to 4th, 3rd or 4th.
Yeah.
I agree with Jamie's score prediction of 2-1 Chelsea. Obviously, because I'm ridiculously biased towards Chelsea, and I'd like that outcome. I think if Chelsea win this game, there's no chance energetically for Everton to get top 4. Mathematically, I know it will still be in play, but energetically, it would be hey, you beat them at the beginning of the season. Now they've kind of found who they are. They have probably a better coach, a more experienced coach, maybe not a better coach, a more experienced coach working with them. You can't play with the big boys. You're not a big boy yet to Everton. However, if Everton win, the amount of confidence they're going to have and the amount of kind of kick in the nuts it will be for Chelsea, especially if we lose that Liverpool game, it's going to be tough. If Chelsea lose these 2 games, I don't know if we finish top 4.
I will say the Everton game today meaning Monday, against Southampton, they didn't look imposing. So there was a lot of chances in the second half where Southampton could have tied it. I mean, I didn't really think that Everton was going to lose that game, but I could have seen them easily being a 1-1 draw. The Richarlison goal came in the 9th minute, and it was just a kind of a fluky. He got the ball in the side of the box and just ripped it in.
Do you think 2-1's accurate then for Chelsea-Everton?
Yeah, I think Chelsea. I think they're going to go up against a better structured defensively Chelsea team that they're going to have a lot of trouble breaking down, even with DCL and Richarlison playing. I know Hamas didn't play today. I don't know if he's hurt. I don't know what the deal with Hamas. I think they missed him today when he didn't play. The little creativity out of the midfield is important. So if he plays on Monday against Chelsea, I think it changes the dynamic a little bit in the midfield. No, I think 2-1 is probably a safe bet. Although it's hard to say. Chelsea doesn't get scoring that much, so where would that go? I mean,
it's gonna be 1 goal, guys. Maybe it's 1-0.
Maybe it's 1-0. Yeah, 1 goal. Yeah, 1 goal.
All right, with that said, we're going to go into fantasy, and unfortunately, once again, there's nothing to report on fantasy. There's been some mid-table movement, but the bottom 3 and the top 3 are the same. Jeff has moved up. Jeff was really close to me in the middle of the table, and he's back in 7th. I am still dead in the middle of the table, and I hate my life because I've been making a lot of changes. I stay up late. I stress. I do analytics. Doesn't help. So that's cool. Anything to say about fantasy, Jeff?
No, that's it.
if somebody could beat Atletico, that'd be great because right now he's coasting to this world of.
He's gonna win. He's gonna win. I'm gonna spoiler alert. He's gonna win.
Spoiler alert. He's Man City.
Yep.
Jamie, thank you so much for hopping on the pod. Do you want to take a little time and shout out your new project and kind of give us a little details on what you're doing?
Yeah, absolutely. First of all, thank you guys for having me. This has been super awesome to finally chat with you guys. I know it's been, like 2 months in planning. But yeah, so I'm starting a new page called The Kit Collectors. It's at The Kit Collectors on Instagram. And we're going to function mainly through Instagram. And I've reached out to we're at 8 confirmed right now, kit traders. So essentially what this page is going to be, it's going to be like an online thrift store for only soccer jerseys. These jerseys, some are going to be like one-of-ones. A lot of them are signed or autographed. I have a bunch of match worns and so on. And I would say about 300 of them come from my own collection. And then we've partnered with now 7 other collectors and we're reaching almost 1,000 kits total. So those kits will be up on the page. I think we're planning to release sometime in late April. We're just working on the logo and kind of just best practice in terms of how we want to have people bid on them and so on. But it's going to be a really cool page where people can just buy kits like the ones behind you guys. And some of them will be signed. Some of them will be like really exclusive kits that I don't think you can find anywhere else. So
that's an awesome idea.
In the world of NFTs,
yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Digital everything, of uniqueness, of Pokemon cards, there's actually nothing better because it's a global audience. You could have global buy-in, and it's super exciting. And hopefully you'll give us one that is maybe not worth $10,000 because we'd love to add it to our collection.
You always got to have those physical assets.
And maybe, exactly, you always got to have those physical assets, not just your digital assets.
That's just your digital assets.
And maybe what we'll do too is we are getting our swag together, and I've been saying that for a long time, and it's all on me, and I'm dragging my feet. But maybe what we'll do is we'll create a one-off jersey, a Boys and Bolos jersey, or have like 2 or 3 of them maybe, and we'll donate it to the kit collectors. What do you think, Jeff?
Oh, I think that's a great idea.
We'll sign it.
That's what we have to do.
The value will increase by about $2 million.
I am a kit guy. I've discovered that I really enjoy a nice kit.
I have a lot of kits. They're not nice. A lot of them are knockoffs, but they're from my travels. I have like so many kits. Whenever you guys put this up, we'll have a kit day, and Jeff and I will just go on IG and we'll just show kit, because I have so many kits at my house.
Yeah, I mean, it's something that everyone does. Growing up, for me, kind of the idea behind this whole project was from the fact that I used to walk into like middle school, high school, whatever it may be, wearing a jersey. And for me, it represented more than just like whoever's name was on the back, but it was like when you were at recess, you were like that guy. Wearing that kit made you feel that much better. And for some people, that still happens to them today. And for me, it's more of, it's like a learning curve where I have 10 kits that I non-tradable, like no one's going to take them off of me. I have a lot of kits that I want other people to have the opportunity to have it at some point. And they're kits that a lot of people I think would enjoy having. And it's also the idea of upcycling. It's greener. It's a lot better than having people make like printing out 1,000 Spurs kits and then having to throw them out or do whatever, donate, which by all means is an incredible thing to do. But if you have kits that people are willing to give away or willing to have purchased, why not start giving them away now? And that's kind of the way I see it. And on top of that, let me say, with what you said, I would absolutely love to do that. Send you guys, I have some cool kits that I think you'd enjoy, but also as we kind of progress and move along, this is top secret, but it no longer will be once this comes out. We are planning on creating one-of-one kits. We have about 4 or 5 people that are capable of embroidering and just creating kits in general. So we're going to start doing printing on and creating our kits of our own, because the logo that we are currently in production with is a badge. So with every kit we sell, we might hide the badge somewhere on the kit, just to notify people like, oh, hey, this is from the kit collector. So it's self-promotion, but super excited. Definitely want you guys to be involved as much as you want to be, but yeah.
We're going to follow media. I don't know why I haven't followed already, because we already talked about this. I think it's a great project. I think one of one. I think anytime you have a value that you can create something physical, like Pokemon cards are exploding. And if you hear that and you think it's a joke, literally go search this on YouTube. But there's like $300,000 cards.
Yep.
And anytime you can create uniqueness around something that's kind of niche, and especially in the United States, soccer is still very underground. I think, obviously, in popular culture, you start to see a lot more people wear kits. If you like J. Cole as a rapper, in almost every single video, he has this super fresh kit on.
Snoop Dogg.
Snoop Dogg, Snoop Dogg, I think, owns part of one of the. Does he own the Galaxy or does he own the LAFC? He has. Yeah, he has stake in that. So soccer is becoming obviously a bigger part of everyone's kind of world. And so, the fact that LeBron James has stake in Liverpool, et cetera, et cetera. So that's super exciting. We're going to follow you on Instagram at The Kit Collectors. Yes, and yeah, thanks for hopping on.
Yeah, thanks, Jamie. I don't have anything else, Jarrett. Again, another week down in the Rat Tail Bunker, Barbershop Studio.
We out here.
Ciao.
Ciao.
People have been complaining the last few months about Man United getting too many penalties. What happens? I think Graham's one. Klopp has been another one. He's complained about the penalties I think United are getting. But we always said United they're getting into penalty areas a lot more than opposition. They got people dribbling at people, so they're likely to get more penalties.
You can put my name with it as well.
And Jimmy's been complaining about it. I'm surrounded here. But I think all he feels was a penalty, and we all felt at half-time that was a penalty.
How daft that we're talking about penalties.
Is this distraction stuff?
Exactly. It is a bit of distraction. We're talking about a penalty. Whether you think it was or wasn't, we're talking about two of the best teams in English football coming together today, and none of the special players turned up.
Thanks for listening to the Boys and Bolos podcast. You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Patreon, Twitch at Boys and Bolos.
If you'd like to be a guest, please reach out. You can hit us on any of the social media accounts that Jeff just mentioned, or email us directly at boysandbolos@gmail.com.
Thanks for listening, and see you next time.